Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Depressed Dior, and this is Middara on Tabletop Simulator. So it's definitely a bit late, but I want to go ahead and finish up this chapter. There's really not much left, so I definitely want to do it. But before we do any of that, let's go ahead and take a look at our experience. Looks like we still need one more experience to get what we need, but I'm just going to verify real quick. So 3, 7, 12, 17, 24. Yep, that sounds about right. Okay. Also, you guys got to at least see Gary's in action, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. He's as you could probably guess, he's good in areas where you can take advantage of terrain and push people off edges and stuff, which is pretty cool. Anyway, let's go ahead and clear the board. And continue onwards. I believe we have main quest, The Unstoppable Blight, 224. Alright. Damocles was speaking so quietly that Nightingale could barely hear him. "You're positive that's what he said?" he asked. The messenger, dressed in hide colors and still panting from a run, wasn't quiet at all. "I'm afraid so, sir. Your father has requested your immediate return." Damocles turned away from the messenger and toward Nightingale and her friends. "I'm sorry, I have..." The words caught in his throat. "Hyde is grateful for your help." He didn't wait for them to respond, just turned and took off running down the hill, scattering pedestrians in his wake. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. "It was only a matter of time," Rook muttered. "I've never heard of anyone overcoming the blight." "We should make sure he's okay." Remy started walking after him, taking the longest stride she could. "I don't know what I'd do if that were my mom, but I wouldn't want to do it alone." "Good idea." Nightingale followed. They quickly broke into a run after him. The guards at Hyde Estate recognized them at once and let them through. The house was already in mourning. What servants they met were wearing black and directed them to a room they hadn't visited before. The sprawling bedroom had a pair of wide double doors, half a dozen armed guards standing just outside. It was a spacious master suite with plenty of windows and a huge four-poster bed at the back. The sheets and blankets had all been stripped away, and sturdy leather straps were secured to posts. Periodically, the bed jerked back and forth. Elias and Damocles met them at the door. Elias, in particular, seemed almost as withered and weak as the thing restrained in bed. There were dark circles under his bloodshot eyes, and one hand kept drifting down to his sword. "You see what Hendrix has done to my family?" Elias gestured behind him. "I hoped my doctors would discover something, or some Esper would intervene. A foolish dream." "I'm sorry." It was the only thing Nightingale could think to say. She wasn't going to lie and say she understood what it was like, or that things would get better. Empty words were worse than weak ones. "It just felt like we should be here." "Thank you." Elias briefly rested one hand on her shoulder. "Balthazar would have done the same for me, child. He officiated at our wedding all those years ago." "Father, we promised." Damocles sounded urgent, almost desperate. "We can't let her suffer like this." "No, we can't." Elias shivered as he turned away. There are rumors of a cure. Some master creature, mother, I've heard. They say if you kill her, every guardian on Middara would be themselves again." He shook his head, then started walking toward the bed. "But no one even knows for sure if this mother exists, let alone where to find her." Why not just keep her somewhere safe until a cure is found?" Remy blurted. She quickly covered him out, realizing what she was asking. Elias turned on her, snapping his head in attention. "Are you suggesting I keep my own wife locked in my dungeons? And for how long? The cure might not even exist. She'd spent years in agony, trapped in a cell, ready to break out and hurt people. I made her a promise, and I intend to keep it." Justice shifted uncomfortably beside her. The others all stood respectfully in the doorway, their eyes downcast, but their hands ready on their weapons if they were needed. Elias slowed as he crossed the room, and when he drew his sword, his hand jerked on the sheath, nearly cutting himself. Whatever might have been said for Elias as a ruler, Nightingale had no doubt in her mind that he loved Rivka. His hand was shaking. Damocles stood beside Nightingale with a few silent tears streaking his face, but he stood rigidly and seemed much more composed than his father. The older one is weak." Nightingale didn't know whether the voice was hers or the Maluma's at first. She blinked in confusion and thought it again. The second time, the thought sounded like her own. Nightingale shook her head and concentrated. He shouldn't be the one to do it. The thought came again. It sounded like her own voice mixed with the Maluma's gravelly one. Nightingale shuddered, realizing that she was having a hard time separating who was who in her own mind. Maybe she should have told Damocles before it was too late. The player-controlling Nightingale must decide what to do. Urge Damocles to kill his mom? His father doesn't look capable of killing his own wife. Say nothing. It's not your place to decide. Well, it's pretty safe to say Elias probably doesn't have it in him. So I'm going to go ahead and do Ending the Pain, which is 225. Damocles felt a soft hand on her arm and turned to look back at the princess. He would never have forgiven her if she'd come to see his mother's last moments only to disrespect her. What? He asked, failing to bite back the grief. Nightingale squeezed his hand with both of hers and leaned up to whisper in his ears. Damocles, look at your father. He can't be the one to do this. She was right. Damocles had known his true father only since he'd arrived in Middara, but it had been long enough to learn his character. Elias had always been a man sensitive to the needs of his people, but also to their pain. It was his mercy that led him to Rivka in the first place. Damocles had never seen two people love each other more, but Damocles loved her too. She had shown him more kindness than anyone ever had. He had to find the strength to show her mercy. You're right. He hurried forward, catching Elias by the shoulder. Father, wait. Elias turned. What is it? In answer, Damocles pushed him gently toward where Nightingale stood. I can't let you do this, he said. We promised, son. I have to. Elias's hands were shaking. I know. Damocles pushed Elias back again, then drew his dagger. I'll do it. Rivka had given him the knife when he had arrived in their household for the very first time, a gift from the miners of Hyde to their heir apparent. He stopped at her bedside and wiped at his eyes with his sleeve. The blight had withered a good portion of her body, turning parts of her skin a pallid gray, and the back side of her beautiful flowing hair into a matted, patchy mess. Her bones were visible beneath much of her skin, and a few spines protruded through weeping lesions seeping a green fluid. Swollen pustules pulsed with vile mucus, ready to spread to the next generation of blighted guardians. She stopped struggling as he approached, and her eyes were fixed on him. There was still a little of the hazel left, and some recognition. Do you know why I'm here? He asked quietly. We won't let you suffer. She twitched, maybe nodded. Damocles wasn't sure. I love you. As the words left his lips, Damocles struck, aiming for her heart. Rivka's body spasmed once, and as he pulled the blade free, red spluttered at her chest, coating the metal. Rivka's breathing turned to shuddering gasp before she finally fell still. Mark the story flag, A Son's Love, on their adventure sheet. Okay. Continue to My Duty, 226. Oh, down here. Damocles arrived in the sitting room with a heavy pack on his shoulder and a determined expression on his face. Nightingale and her friends had already spent over an hour preparing to leave. When he came down the stairs, he was relieved to find they hadn't left yet. Nightingale had just finished tying off her pack and looked up from her preparations. Damocles? What are you doing here? You don't need to see us off, Rook said. We know you have more important things on your mind. Damocles took a few moments to speak, as though gathering the courage. He turned to Justice with intense expression. Are you still going to find Echo? Justice blanched, retreating under his gaze. Yeah, I mean, she's after the same thing my friends are, so we'll have to confront her eventually. Good. He turned to Nightingale and lowered his head in respect. I'm sorry I treated you so poorly when you arrived, Princess Nightingale. It's okay, she muttered, unsure of what to say. I have been upset in your position, too. He took a step back, his steel boots clanking on the stone floor. As I see it, what happened to Hendrix doesn't balance the scales. He betrayed us, but because Echo ordered it. She was part of the bigger picture, and if she hadn't been whispering in Hendrix's ear, this wouldn't have happened. I want to see her pay for her crimes, if you'll let me come along. They didn't have to think about it long. They had seen him in battle. Having him along would definitely make things easier. Zeke shrugged. Of course. Where we're going, we'll need all the help we can get. You can say that again, Justice said quietly. Gehenna and its swamps are no joke. This isn't going to be easy. We've been through a lot already, so I think we'll make it all right. Nightingale clenched her fist to her side. We could do anything as long as we're together. Damocles put a hand on Nightingale's shoulder. As long as you give me the revenge I'm owed, my service is yours, princess. Gage jumped to Remy's shoulder, and she slung her backpack on. She shared a smile with Zeke while the two followed Damocles out into the streets of Hyde. Rook cleared his throat. I've done some reading about the swamps. It's going to be the most dangerous place we've ever traveled. Of course you have, Nightingale grimaced. Rook ignored her. We should expect unsteady ground, extremely dangerous wildlife, and tribes of hostile nymphs. And that's only the stuff we know to expect. Nightingale watched her friend set out through the door, and with a deep breath, she followed. Damocles joins the party. Players must immediately set up Damocles by going through the following steps. So, we do not need this Damocles anymore, because we have a better Damocles. Also, apparently I forgot to grab... I think you got thrown in the trash, didn't you? Make sure. Justice? Nope. Okay. Well, I'm going to have to go grab another Justice, it looks like. Because I accidentally deleted her, along with all the Espers. Alright. Well, I'll deal with that later. Anyway, reveal medium and large hidden cards UM25 to access Damocles Hide, adventure card, and story item. Damocles gains the Iridium Dagger story item. The story item is double-sided and may be equipped as either a relic or a weapon. Damocles joins the party with a one-handed uncommon melee weapon of your choice, a random uncommon core, and a random uncommon armor. Then Damocles gains experience equal to the total experience of the group, so 32. And he may learn any disciplines he wants. Record all this information on the adventure sheet. From this point forward, players may choose to play as Damocles using blah 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 blah. And then you have to choose your active group at this point. And then we have some flag checks, which is avoiding collapse and new ambitions, which we do have both of those. So we got that going for us. So UM25. Okay. So we got Damocles Hide. Literally his only special ability is the fact he can have up to 6 stamina, and he's immune to haste. I don't like the fact he's immune to haste, but that's okay, I guess. Iridium Dagger. It is Damocles only, so he's the only one that can use it. And it has backstab if it combos with a light weapon, and it does the burst does +3 physical damage. It has teal die for combat, and you can exhaust this as part of a follow-up. If this attack dealt damage, gain a vow token, or you can use it as a story relic and give him a free dodge. So pretty neat. He does get a random uncommon armor, so I'll go ahead and I'll shuffle and grab. All right, Brooding Mantle. That's nice. I'm going to take that from him. Let's see. Uncommon, a random uncommon core. So shuffle, grab. All right, we got ourselves a deflection core, a radiant septum ring, green conviction. You could flip it to automatically pass a conviction check, just like all deflection cores, and you can spend 1 stamina and exhaust when you fail a conviction check to deal an opponent with an SOI magic damage equal to the difference of which you failed the check. So since I usually roll terrible, it actually does pretty good damage as a reflecting thing. And then I get a one-handed uncommon weapon of my choice. Probably going to be a melee weapon. When making a dodge against an attack, each book will actually deal damage. Not bad. I could get the Dweller's Longsword. The problem is I won't get the backstab combo, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, I kind of want the Longsword. It's probably going to be the best combo, because then you'll have green and gray for his dice. And then as for his stuff, he's going to get 32 experience to spend. Damocles Hide. So he's got 32. As for what I would spend it on, oh, I don't know. I believe there's a thing that will make it so everything is a light weapon. Yeah, one-handed weapons you have equipped gain light. So we might want to get Jack of all blades, quick blow, false idol. And then there's brutal slaughter, blot out the sun, and then what I can also do is, since now everything's a light weapon if it's one-handed, he could do something like follow through. Actually, follow through would be a good combo for him. So follow through, and then I need to find out what was the move that he used? Sinful privilege. I'm thinking that's a Crore ability. Okay, it's a tier 3. Okay. I kind of want to keep his standard build. Alright, he might not have enough to do all of this. So we'll see what we can do. So he has to get Crore abilities to make this happen. So each time you dealt 2 or more damage, you are dealt 2 damage. Okay. Okay. When making an attack, this attack gains a bunch of stuff. Alright, I want to give him Imbued Fear. Alright, so let's see what the total's looking like right now. Because it might be too much. I have to give him a tier 2 as well to get to there. Blood Toll, Soul Steal. At the start of your turn, you and an ally with an SOI may redistribute any damage tokens you have between each other. And then... Okay. That's actually a kind of a neat ability. Have a bunch of HP and then you deal like a ton of it. When you hit with an attack, gain a vow token. You may deal yourself... Okay. You may deal yourself irreducible damage up to your remaining HP to add it. Okay. So, Blood Pack. So it would be something like this. So... Honestly, we don't need the, you treat instructing terrain in the edges of encounters as an ally for purposes of flanking. Okay, that's kind of useful. We don't really need Jack of Blades right now, because I don't have anything that does light damage. Okay. So 3, let's see, 3, 8, 15, 19, 25. So that's 25 right there. So here's 25. So let's just, yeah, we'll do the 15 first. I'll bring it down to 17. And then it's 4 for the next, for quick blow. And to be honest, we can actually go without false. We can technically go with without false idol. We could drop false idol and get blade works instead. It would still be the same cost, to be honest. So I guess it doesn't really matter. But I think, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and swap out false idol. So 3, 10, 15, 19. So yeah, I have 13 left. So yeah, instead of taking false idol, I'm actually gonna go ahead and take some martial, and we're gonna take hammer helm and blade works. Oh, it's only with a 2-handed weapon. Ooh, yeah, you're right. Never mind, I forgot. Never mind, we're not gonna do that then. Well, we can do blade works. Blade works only requires 2 and 1-handed weapons. All right, that will still cost 5. So it actually saves him a point. So I'll put him down to 8 left. And then with that 8, he can go ahead and get follow through. He won't be able to use the exhaust part of it, but he can use the passive part. And essentially what I'm doing essentially what I'm doing here is making it so I can do as much damage in just a single blow as possible. So with this, that it's going to be what, 3, 4, 5. It's going to cost 6 to get follow through, and I'll put it at 2. Because like how I've been using him is I used essentially sinful privilege and just hit once, and then I dumped like all my HP to do things. So that's essentially the plan. And Imbue Fear is just going to, I can exhaust to do during the attack to do additional physical damage. And then either I can follow it up with a quick blow. Actually, quick blow. You know what? Drop quick blow. I don't think quick. Other than your attack made, you may. I don't think you can choose the same target. Is the thing. Yeah, I don't think I can do the follow up with it. So that'll actually bring me back. Was it 3, 4, 5? That'll actually give me 6 points back. So I'm back up to 8 again. So let's make sure I did this right. So I follow through setup. So 3, 7, 12, 17, 24. So I should have 8 left. Is there anything else I can play around with? Speed and Justice, dodge, dodge. Murder Circus. Not really. Unless there's something here to play around with. I could do Blade Distortion. Before making an attack, this attack cannot be dodged or countered. That will work. So that's going to cost 6 experience, because that's my second tier 2. So I'll bring him back down to 2 again. So here's the plan. So we got ourselves, we'll use, if it hits his turn and there's somebody adjacent, I can use Sinful Privilege, use Blade Works to get the attack for the Sinful Privilege, and buff it with extra damage, make it so it can't be dodged or countered. And if it hits, I can use follow through to dump the rest of my stamina into it, and then dump a bunch of HP into it for just a big hit. So that might be something I want to play around with. We'll see. Obviously, the problem is finding slots open to do this type of stuff. But the main thing here was, of course, I wanted to spend the points necessary. Zeke is at 9. I need to actually do his. I should have done this before the story round, but I'm just going to do it now to get it taken care of. So he had Fortune Telling, Proof of Affinity, Mend, Magic Armor, Gain Courage. He has Haste, Barrier. So what I would probably do with Zeke here. I kind of want to do Wings Manifest. When you hit the target, pick a negative effect, Ascension. Mend, Magic Armor, Aspect. At any time, you heal equal to half your maximum HP. We'll give him Intervention. He currently has level 1, level 1, level 1. So he has 3, 4, 5. This will cost him 6 experience to learn. Intervention tokens allow you to re-roll stuff. So 6 experience for that. I'm just doing it just so he has his stuff filled out. And then for Rook, I'm saving up for his next thing. Same thing for Justice. So we're good on those. Okay. And right now he has this gear. I don't know if I can actually... I'm pretty sure it's going to give me an opportunity to move gear around, but just for posterity, I'll just keep this stuff here for now. We don't need Damocles anymore. Bye-bye, Damocles. Alright, I think that's everything. So let's go ahead and continue onward. Sorry for taking a bit too long. Does the party have the story flag avoiding collapse? Yes. So go to 228. You get this, of course, if you actually succeeded in the mine thing. So, grateful families. A shout from behind Damocles and the others to turn. Several people emerged from the crowd. One of them came forward with a big smile on her face. Mrs. Fullard, how are you? We came to thank you, she said, approaching with a bag in her hands. Without your help, my Dirk would be dead. You saved his life and the lives of many others. It's not much, but we gathered some. No need. Damocles quickly put up his hand and took a step back. We didn't do it to be repaid. It was my duty, and I simply did what I could to help, that's all. That's not all. She took a step forward, not letting his retreat stop her. Not everyone in places of power would risk themselves like you did. When we heard you were setting off, nobody knows exactly what you're leaving to do, but we're sure it must be a worthy cause. You deserve all the help you can get in your endeavor. No, really. Damocles tried to back away again, but Mrs. Fuller wasn't having any of it. She grabbed his hand and pushed the bag into it. We won't take no for an answer, she insisted. She let go of the bag and stepping away and folding her arms. You be safe out there, and remember that we'll all be waiting for your safe return. And with that, the families of the miners came up, shook each of their hands, and thanked everyone for their help. Damocles couldn't hide the glowing sense of pride and love he felt for his people as they headed back to town. He would miss them. The party gains 4 mundane consumables and then 50 gold for each miner that was saved after the first. We saved 3 miners, so we're going to get 4 mundane consumables and 100 gold. So we'll go ahead and note that we get 100 gold, so we're at 793. Originally, I thought it was 4 consumables for each of those miners, but no, you only get the 4 mundane consumables, which is fine. Let's go ahead and just separate these out real quick. I think there's like 5 maybe in here that are mundane. Because unfortunately we don't really use them anymore. So shuffle, draw, shuffle, draw, shuffle, draw, shuffle, draw. Alright, so all that's left is this thing. Which more than likely we're going to end up drawing in a second. But it's nice to have some new, more of these finally. Let's get... I don't want Justice with the dynamite. To be honest, I don't really want to carry the dynamite. It's just too dangerous in my opinion. Though, to be fair, Justice is the fastest character, so it's probably best on her. We'll take a throwing knife on her. And then the rest we can put on Rook. So, not too shabby. Alright, and then put that over there. And then another flag check. So, if for whatever reason you only saved that one girl, that's why the new ambition flag check is on that first, was back on the other page with Damocles, because there's the chance that she's the only one you saved, in which case you failed the quest but you saved her. But in any case, does the party have the story flag new ambitions? Yes. Go to change in profession 228, which is right here. Damocles, wait! The girl they had pulled from the mines came rushing up to them. A large belt was wrapped around her waist, and a stuffed, oversized pack was on her back. The girl smiled brightly as she approached. Nightingale looked back at her friends, who seemed as confused as she was. I'm so glad I caught up to you, the girl beamed. You guys are so brave. You saved my life. I want to do the same. I mean, I might not have all your adventuring skills yet, but I'll learn. I just need some training. I'll catch on really quick and work really hard, I swear. Maybe I could, I don't know, come with? You could teach me how to fight, and I could repay everything you've done for... No. Damocles cut the girl's rambling off and held up a hand, his face firm. But I want to help people, she insisted. You saved my life, and I want to return the favor. Fight monsters, go on adventures. Damocles shook his head. You don't understand. We couldn't save everyone in those mines, and if we can do so little, what do you hope to do? You need to stay here. I can't have another citizen of my town in danger. He turned quickly, and Nightingale watched as he strode away without another word. Well, if you won't let me go with you, let me do something. The girl reached into her pack, pulling out a satchel, and held it out to Nightingale. Thanks, Nightingale said, taking it. Inside, she could see some adventuring goods. I'll just have to train on my own, the girl said, with newfound resolve. I'll have to do what I can here in town. I can prove myself here, someday. I'll be able to help you guys. You do that, Nightingale said. Just take it slow. Don't go trying to save the whole town right away. And then party gains 4 mundane consumables. There's only 1 left, so I'll just take it and give it to Nightingale. There you go. All right, traveling to Gehenna. And with that, that is the end of Chapter 3. It's going to take a bit to load. But hopefully it won't take too long. All right. So as you can see, we're going from Hyde. So we started in Alinea, went to Ramstead, went down to Hyde, and now we're going to Gehenna. As you can see, there's still plenty of places we haven't been to yet. All right, traveling to Gehenna. You don't have a clue what you're doing, do you? Justice loomed nearby with her comically large book resting on her lap. Zeke stiffened indignantly. What makes you say that? You mean, aside from the fact you've already burnt 2 sausages and somehow a can of soup? Justice looked up from her massive tome, snapping it closed. Isn't there someone here who knows how to cook? Zeke stood, gesturing at a step beside the fire. You want to try? Fine, you do it, Gordon Ramsay. Hey, a reference. I'm not an expert. Justice rose from her perch on a nearby log, leaving her book behind. But I think I can do better than the burnt to a crisp special. She made her way over to where Zeke had been, plopped down, and immediately set to work. Zeke sat beside her. Finding this little hill was great luck. It has a great view, and I bet we'll be drier up here, too. Since he wasn't cooking, he fished in his pockets for a cigarette. Unfortunately, what he got was a soggy mess of brown sludge and warped paper. Damn it, that was my last pack. He tossed the mess into the fire under the pot, which immediately started to steam. I'm surprised such an experienced adventurer still wastes money on those things. Do you think they make you look cool? Justice muttered between stirs. He folded his arm and grinned at her. It does make me look cool. I'm surprised you can read the same book over and over. Ha, she smiled slightly. Same book, different words. It's always changing, filling up with things I need. She lowered her voice to a whisper, eyeing the book narrowly. Or things it thinks I need, anyway. Zeke hadn't heard of any magic like that before, but he was also living in a magical land where nobody aged and everybody wanted to kill him. He supposed it shouldn't have been that surprising. Mind if I take a look? Be my guest. Hell, try and take it if you want. Just keep in mind that the last guy who tried got his fingers burnt off. Zeke froze with his fingers a few inches from the cover. Really? Yeah. Probably won't happen to you, though, unless you try to steal it. He pulled his hand back, narrowing his eyes at it. Sounds like more trouble than it's worth. You don't know the half of it, Justice sighed, raising her eyes to meet his. When people find out about it, they tend to come snooping around, wanting something. It usually ends with them getting themselves into trouble, since I can't control it. I can't blame you guys for trying to find it. Your friend Nightingale has something real nasty inside of her. I'd do the same thing if I was in her place. A Maluma? Zeke raised an eyebrow while running his fingers over the spine of Justice's book. I thought that was its name. Is there more than one? Yep. Malumas are espers from Arcala. At least that's what the book told me. She nodded toward the unmoving paper she kept implying was alive. Yeah, a talking book. Zeke was smiling slightly. He took a gamble and gently picked it up, glancing through its empty pages before looking at the food being cooked. Hey, Justice. Zeke rubbed the back of his head and approached her. Thanks for helping Nightingale. It was a crappy way to meet, but that wasn't your fault. Besides, things did work out nicely in Hyde. Thanks for your help. Or thanks to your help. Of course. Justice was concentrating on the food in front of her. So, she's a princess and you're a prince, huh? You guys supposed to be married off or something? She looked down at the growing pile of cooked sausages and the pot of new soup. Zeke appeared taken aback by the comment. No, she's just a friend. Our families would probably love it we did hook up. Zeke kept absently flipping through the pages of her book. What about you? Is this Zafir guy your bishi? He hadn't expected her to get the reference, but she giggled. No, not at all. Zafir is like 100 years old. You never know looking at anyone, but some of these people are ancient. Dang, man, that's a long time to pile up experience, Zeke shifted. Justice stared deeply into the flames. And obsessions. All around them, the rest of the group were setting up camp, clearing the ground and putting up the tents. Zeke remained quiet, listening to the insects and giving Justice an opportunity to continue. She leaned toward him. She leaned towards him. He's completely obsessed with the Pontifex. I don't know what it does. I don't even know what it does. But he's a little intense when he talks about it. I'm kind of worried about him. He used to talk about all the good we could do for people, and now it's all about getting that stupid artifact. Justice stopped to look around and make sure no one was close by. Zeke caught the gesture and leaned in closer. Listen, I think if you're that worried, it might be a good idea to take a step back. Maybe we should just hold on to the piece that Nightingale has, at least until we know what Zephyr needs it for. I may be just concerned, but I still trust him, Justice argued. I didn't mean it like that. Glancing at Nightingale as she and Remy were helping to clear the ground, he continued. I just think that maybe it could be a good bargaining chip. He'll help, Justice nodded firmly. I'm sure he will. If you say so. Zeke sat down and began dishing a plate. Justice slapped at his hand. Hey, it's not done yet. Back off. Looks like you two are getting along, Nightingale said as she skipped toward them. Smells delicious. Thanks. Justice dashed some sort of spice onto the food. The Anointed had me cooking for them while we traveled. I felt like a chef with out-of-control powers more than an adventurer. The Anointed? Nightingale asked as Justice shoveled food onto her plate. Zeke watched with envious eyes. Yep, that's what Zafir calls the group he travels with. Justice turned to Zeke next and paused. You used the word bishi earlier. Were you into anime back on Earth or something? Zeke began to say something when Nightingale cut in. He gave you the bishi age gauge line, huh? Dude, Zeke hissed at Nightingale. He used that line on girls to find out how old they are. If they laugh, he knows that he can relate to them, I guess. Nightingale took a bite and mumbled through a mouthful. Super good food, by the way. Zeke blushed, and Justice laughed. Clever. I guess you wouldn't know how old anyone was on Middara based on just their appearance. You could have just asked me my age, though. I'm certain that the younger women on Middara probably wouldn't be that mad to tell you that they're only 19 or something. Plus, you're a prince. Why not just drop that line? Zeke shrugged as Remy plopped down. Oh, smells awesome. She just up, glancing between them curiously. What's going on? Nightingale stared at Justice as she sat on her own plate of food. Zeke was hitting on Justice. Remy raised an eyebrow. Did he tell you he's a prince? I bet that line would have worked. That's what I was saying, Justice said, shoveling food in her mouth. I mean, hit on is a little more than it really was. Zeke raised a hand to look innocent. I was just trying to get some intel on our mysterious mage here. You guys just blew my cover. Right. Nightingale handed a plate to Rook as he moved to sit. What were you going to ask her next? Her favorite band? Narrow it down by the decade? 21, Justice said with a smile. Oh, and EDM. Anything with lots of bass. 21, Rook asked, smelling the food. Is that your Earth age? Nope, my real age. I came to Middara young, right before graduating high school. Zafir found me a while later and brought me to Alinea. Justice looked around, squinting behind her glasses. We're all really young here then. No ancient vampires among us? Everyone shook their heads, and Justice sighed in relief. Good. I've been going mad traveling with the Anointed. Saphira and his whole group are all... She flapped her hands and trying to find the word. Old-fashioned. It's, it's been a hell of a time having any sort of fun with them around. Ow! Zeke jumped, scrambling to his standing position. Your book just bit me! Lying on the ground, Justice's book had a minuscule amount of blood on the corner of one of its open pages. Justice swooped down and picked it up. You probably upset it. It's the jealous type. The group laughed as Zeke nursed his small wound. Does the party have the Story Flag Experience Guide? In other words, do we still have, Oh man, my mind went blank on his name. That's gonna bother me. Give me a moment. Man, just when I was actually going to start searching the hidden deck, I just remembered the name. Padrick. If we had Padrick with us, then we would still have Experience Guide. We don't. So we go to no. So continue to City in the Swamps. 233. Nightingale was the first to see the massive blocks of stone rising above the fetid swamps. The ruins of Gehenna looked like they were being slowly devoured by the land around them, swallowed in a blanket of mosses and creepers swirling up the intricate geometric architecture. There's a way into the ruins. There's a way into the ruins around here somewhere, Justice said, briefly consulting one of the pages in her tome. A series of crumbling arches permitted them access to the center of the ruins. Inside was a straight row of polished stone pyramids of increasing size, like ancient Mayan temples in various shades. This place used to be beautiful, Justice muttered, turning her book around briefly so that they could see. The illustration depicted the same avenues and ziggurats, but new and clean, with walkways suspended in the air and flames burning at the peak of every structure. Those don't look like humans, Zeke said, pointing at the figures in the picture. Something flickered in the air beside Rook, and his pendant shone with a violet light. Suri bobbed up and down, looking wistful as she gazed at the ruins. That's because they weren't... Whoa! Justice jumped at her sudden appearance. A friend of yours? Damocles backed away from her eyes cautious. Yeah, she's cool, Nightingale said. From Akarla, but cool. Justice cleared her throat. You know that you're not supposed to have her here, right? Suri glared at the bespectacled girl. You know that you're not supposed to have that book here, right? She whisked around the book of Theodosian. It's from my realm, too. You guys keep meddling in affairs you should be leaving alone. Alenia was once home to creatures from Arkala. Many of my kind once lived here long ago. I didn't think that was allowed, Justice said. All those beings coming here from Arkala? How did the Great Bounty not claim everyone? Suri sighed. A lot can change in centuries. It sounded like she had more to say, but she only folded her arms and glared around at the fallen city. Only the stone had survived, but there were suggestions of the Gehenna that had once been. Patches of rust marked where its metal shutters had corroded, and every now and then a tall pole stood where lamps had once lit the streets. Most of the ground was covered in soil thick with new foliage, the stone walkways only peeking through sporadically. Rook broke the silence. How long did your kind live, Suri? Suri shrugged. Arkala and Middara are both dangerous. If you're speaking of natural death, several centuries. My great-grandfather must have lived that long. Wait, you age? Remy sounded confused. I didn't think people did that on Middara. I am pleased to hear your definition of people is broad enough to include me, Suri said, slowly drifting closer to Remy. We age just like everything else. Humans are the only anomaly. Weird, Remy mused. I mean, I knew animals and plants did, or else we would have run out of food a long time ago. I just figured... She looked down at Gage as he rubbed against her leg, her eyes suddenly sad. Justice cleared her throat. We need to stay alert, even on the surface. I know Gehenna looks abandoned, but there are creatures living in the depths that make the swamp look like a playground. Hopefully the Anointed are still here. I didn't plan on spending that long in hide. She glared briefly at Damocles, who gave a half-hearted shrug. A few moments later, Justice led them to a clearing. Here's the camp. A dozen thick canvas tents had been erected in a large ring around a cold fire pit. There were bowls of half-eaten food and several cloaks. Justice walked to the center of the camp, her eyes full of concern. This isn't good, she said, her voice edging toward panic. Saphira ran things with military discipline. He should have returned to the camp days ago. Hey, relax, Zeke said, putting one hand on her shoulder. There isn't a single body here, so whatever happened can't have been that bad. Maybe they were in a rush to do something. What were the Anointed doing here anyway? Rook asked. Justice searched around the cap, her eyes darting around desperately. I suppose I can tell you. After you saved me from Hyde, well, Zephyr wouldn't mind. She picked a nearby camp stool and perched on the edge. How much do you know about the Council of Abhorrence? Nightingale felt a twinge of revulsion accompanied by a momentary flash of nausea. She shivered, not sure why she was so uneasy. Never heard of them, Rook said, but with a name like that, they can't be anything good. A myth, Suri said, floating closer to Justice. Shadowy Methuselahs, who pull the strings of their pawns for their own amusement. I've heard of these Anointed. I never thought that you'd find yourself traveling with one. Suri spun around Justice, expecting her. Be careful around their ilk, Rook. They have broken many rules of our worlds. The book that she holds is a dangerous artifact born of my realm. I don't think the Council is a myth. Justice sounded defensive. The Anointed have already caught one of them. Perhaps they've caught something. That doesn't change the history of the Anointed, a history of violence and treachery. They're criminals wanted by the great bounty. Suri frowned at the tome Justice was holding. It's not like I stole this book or anything, Justice snapped. No. The book likely stole you. It contains the secrets of Theodosian, and it chooses its own master. Suri turned to Rook. I suppose you found what you were looking for, a way to save Nightingale? I had hoped that it was a fool's errand. Rook looked uneasy. You said you weren't sure how to find a Theodosian user. Don't you want us to save Nightingale? Suri wrapped her image around Rook's arm. I didn't think you'd actually find a Theodosian user. Very few of those books even exist anymore. Then she glanced at Nightingale. I must admit, I'd rather see Nightingale die than you. Nightingale didn't know how to react to that, though she supposed that it wasn't totally unexpected that Rook's strange ghost girl from another dimension preferred his company. Justice didn't give anyone time to respond. If you're from Akala, you probably know more about this book than anyone, right? There was a tinge of excitement in her voice. I know very little about it. Though I suppose you're in the right place if that's what you're looking to accomplish. Suri looked back towards the ruin. Exactly. Justice returned to her original story. That's why we came here. The Anointed promised to take me here if I helped them. I was hoping that I'd be able to find out more about my power. Maybe even learn to control it. So what happened then? Why were you in Hyde? Rook asked, suspicious. I wasn't supposed to be. Zephyr made me wait outside of the city when we got here. He left me with the more amateur Anointed members. He was supposed to make sure it was safe, then come back for us. She worriedly looked around the empty camp. He wouldn't have left without us. I'm concerned that he's still in the city somewhere. So why were you in Hyde? Damocles pressed, raising his voice a little. She gestured at Nightingale. For the white stone you took from me, the Anointed came here to learn more about the Pontifex. After Zephyr left, my book told me that a piece was nearby. I thought that Zephyr would have wanted me to go after it. We weren't going to go poking around Gehenna by ourselves anyway. So what happened, Remy? Remy asked, stroking Gage, who contentedly purred on her lap. I left with the Anointed and that stayed behind, and we traveled to Hyde to get the Pontifex fragment. We found it, but the Grim Deacons found us. They knew it was there and wanted it just as much as we did, Justice said. So you were the only survivor? What happened to the other Anointed members with you? Damocles asked. Justice stared at her shoes, refusing to meet his eyes. They were killed in the mines when we confronted the Grim Deacons. I see. Do you think Echo wants the Pontifex for this council of whatever? Damocles sounded skeptical. Justice shrugged. Maybe. I mean, not many people even know that this artifact or council of abhorrence even existed. Sounds like I'll be doing everyone a favor by killing Echo, then. Damocles took a swing through the air with his weapon. Justice sighed. I thought I already had. In either case, one of the members of the council has been pretty desperate to get their hands on the Pontifex. But since we don't know what the artifact does exactly, we're at a disadvantage. That's why the Anointed came here to begin with. We were hoping to find out what the Pontifex was used for. I don't mean to sound rude, but none of us Whoa, what happened here? No, don't do that. Stop doing that. There we go. I don't mean to sound rude, but none of this has to do with getting rid of the Maluma. Nightingale rose to her feet. You wanted to know why we were here, Justice said. I'm just answering your questions. Zephyr will know how to help. We just need to find him. Hey, Rook explained. I think I know where they went. He shuffled through a bundle of papers left behind at the camp, then held up a crude map of the city. It was spotty and incomplete, but there were faded routes marked to a section labeled Grand Library. That's Zephyr's handwriting. Justice smiled as she took the map from Rook. Of course they'd head to the library. Or to a library. It would be the first place to check if you're looking for lost knowledge. She took the map and tuck it in her tome. Let's go to this library then. Rook said they left the abandoned campsite behind, following the map through the ruins. Page 236. I think something broke. We're just gonna try to fix this real quick. There's the jump to page, which can probably fix it. Or, it could completely break. Like, completely. There we go. Okay, it fixed itself. Good. Okay. Sorry about that. Alright, Sunken Streets of Gehenna. It's actually an encounter. Okay. So that's why you had to pick your active group. Alright, well in that case, he's definitely not in my active group because I don't have him fully geared out yet. I'm a little confused on when you can actually switch gear around when you pick up a party member like that. So I don't know. In any case, this item is no longer available. We have Damocles over here. I'll get him a pouch later, but for right now, I think we're good to go. Alright. As you follow the map to the Grand Library, you meet some of the city's inhabitants. They seem less than welcoming, though. It looks like you'll have to fight your way through. Finding these anointed people better be worth the risk. So we just got to get to the blue exit, else all adventures are defeated. Ambush. When setting up this encounter, after dealing with the initiative cards, move the Merkhounds and Bloody Guardians initiative cards to the front of the initiative track, because they hate you. So there's only one, there's a blue totem. Everything else seems to be pretty straightforward here. So we'll go ahead and load page. So we got Murky Merkhounds now, which only have 18 HP, but they have 14 defense and quite a bit of damage output. Okay. Also, this is our first set of tiles that actually have muck as part of normal terrain here. So that's something to note here. Everything else, there's not really anything else to note. And the Bloody Guardians are still the same as before. Alright. Well, we do have our standard team. I need to go find Justice and put her in here, but for right now, I'm going to go ahead and call this a video. I am the Depressed Ewar. This was Middara on Tabletop Simulator. We're now in Chapter 4. We're still on Uncommon Tier Loot, so that is something to note. See you guys next time.